Hey friends, welcome to another episode of the 10 Laws Podcast. This week, I was having a little fun, trying something a little different with my dear partner, Marisa, Radha, Weppner. I was like, hey, let's talk about some things that are kind of current and flow with that, and we'll see where it takes us. It was a bit late in the day, so I know my brain was probably a bit fried. So, hey, this is an experiment, and thank you for flowing with us. I think with the podcast, it's something I just keep iterating with and being a little more playful and free with lately. But yeah, we'll see where it takes us. If you want to let us know what you think, please do. And otherwise, we'll drop into this. Plenty more to come.
Headphones.
I'm wearing major headphones. These are my Princess Leia headphones.
Yes.
That's what I call them. They're absurdly expensive, but I had it in my head that I needed to have big headphones for important headphone things. All right, so I think we're going to do something a little different this time. We're going to get into some things that feel a bit more current and see where that takes us. But before we do, what's up with you? What are you up to? What's been going down? You're about to leave for Costa Rica.
Yeah, going down to Sora for Bestie's wedding down there on the beach. I led a ketamine group this morning. I've been taking care of the yard, being a mom, enjoying fall.
Sara's the place that you kind of you became who you are, sort of.
I went to Nosara in 2002, before it was
Venice Beach, before it was Los Angeles,
Santa Monica, and studied at the Nosara Yoga Institute. My teachers, Don and Amba Stapleton, changed my life, and I love them deeply and dearly, and am in the lineage of Nosara yogis, and a Nosara Yoga Master Educator is my title.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were down there a couple years ago, and I did not like it because I kept thinking. I remember I went out to get coffee one morning, and there was like one of these.
It's so crazy
buses
now.
Across the street, and I think the latte was $14 in Costa Rica, and I'm like, this is more than Venice Beach in LA.
Yeah, when I was there in 2002, and I lived there for about a year, it was dirt roads. You know, if you know, a lot of folks know that area, Playa Guiones. Imagine Guiones, there's no businesses on the road down to the beach, except for a couple. And now it's just like bum, 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 bum. Yeah, we totally gentrified it and took it over.
What did I have to do with it?
Well, we're Westerners who colonize.
Yeah, the whole coastline, especially, I don't know about the East coastline, but the West coastline of Costa Rica is like all expats. It's kind of sad, right? You know, like everyone who owns the businesses and is running it is from somewhere else.
I think it's sad.
Yeah. Well, you're about to head down there for the wedding.
I know. Is that hypocritical? It's so strange. It's such a
Which part of it? Hypocritical to be married there?
No, just like part of my heart really aches for what we've done to brown-skinned cultures across the globe, particularly those that are in warmer temperatures. I guess that's where most of them are. And the way that we use it.
Yeah.
And abuse it.
I mean, it's just the economy of going to places that are
forcing
nice.
them to be tourism cultures.
Yeah, that's happened a lot of places. Like I was just thinking about Escalante down there in southern Utah in our adopted home. And I was listening to people tell stories about how, I don't know, a few decades ago, so not that long, like when people came in to go hiking and stuff, the cowboy culture, the old like Mormon people, the old timers would basically try and drive you out of town. Like they did not want you there. They didn't want to tell you where stuff was. They didn't want you having a good time. They were basically, we want this for ourselves. And boy.
But it wasn't theirs to begin with.
I know. And I'm just saying, but even that culture now, like, it's all about tourism. You know, it's like everything converts into like, how do we make a living, and like just diving headfirst into like the islands of Hawaii or something, right? Like everything about that is about vacationing.
Yeah, because it's been totally co-opted for all of its natural resources. I mean, that's a huge, if we could dive into that, that's a really big topic. It's a little bit over my skill set, but I have thoughts and opinions.
Well, we will hit that, but of course, we're sitting in my studio right now, and it's a total mess because we're about to hit the road. All this touring's about to happen. So if you're out there, excited to announce that we're coming back to Australia. It's been a long time.
Yeah, can't wait to get back.
Cannot wait to be back there. That's going to be super
Australia.
soon. And then this first big U.S. tour of mine, the Northeast and the Midwest. And there's many markets I haven't been to. So please grab the ticket if you're in the area. Tell your friends. Help me to gather you and our community.
We want to see how many people love East Forest and Milwaukee.
There's nothing worse than playing somewhere and 3 days later someone on Instagram says, when are you coming to Milwaukee?
I was just there.
And then we're going to be in Europe. That just got announced. So I'm really excited about that in the winter and more. So all of that's happening for us. That's what's going on for me. It's like go time and getting the word out and getting prepared and rehearsing and putting this whole mess that you see around you of figuring out how to get gear from A to B. And you're going to be out there with us. That's
right. I love being on the road. I love meeting fans and getting to experience so many new things. But I just launched a program here out of my studio in Boise, Pranasage, which is like prana massage.
It's like good.
Yoga assists meets Thai massage. It's a training I received from Amba, who created it at the Nosara Yoga Institute. And I use it in all my yin classes and all my private clients. And it's really the art of hands-on assists. But you also learn like a one-on-one flow. You could take somebody start to finish through a pranasage sequence. So that's in January, and it's designed over the weekend for people from out of town to come and stay in Boise and learn this with me.
So you get certified. You're teaching a training.
Yeah, you'd be 100-hour pranasage certified practitioner. It's with the Yoga Alliance. I've got a 200-hour and 300-hour yoga school. So if you're a yogi out there and you want to up your game, pranasage would be an incredible, incredible way to do that.
Well, there's different levels of bliss in the yoga world, and you gave me a pranasage experience many moons ago when we were first sort of courting, and let me say, here we are. So it's magic, folks. Go to MarisaRadhaWeppner.com for that and eastforest.org for the tickets. But otherwise, let's get into this. Let's get into some of these things that are happening, some stories that have been happening. We'll see what you think about it. This week did you see any of these Sora AI videos? They're like, you can make anything you want. Your friend Wes Diplo did some ones where he's speaking in a different language, doing a Rubik's Cube. And did you see these?
No, I didn't see that.
Well, in the news, it's the dawn of Sora. The creativity age of slop.
How real did it look?
Very real, very real. OpenAI has launched Sora, the social media app for AI-generated videos, hot on the heels of Meta's Similar Vibes feature. This has sparked concerns about a deluge of AI slop and the devaluation of human creativity. OpenAI has also detailed its safety and content moderation plans for Sora, including watermarking its content.
Okay, let me break this down.
But the funny thing is, the watermarking is this little like thing that floats around the screen. You know, I assume people will figure out how to get rid of that very quickly.
So they put the watermark on it so that you know it's made by AI?
Yeah, that it's fake. But my point is, that's not even really the point. It's more that this idea they talk about of AI slop, I mean, this is what we talk about peak content and how we're racing towards peak content. This reminds me how I told you this morning about how on my Instagram, I had a video when Sora came out. I was like, well, I had this video I took a couple days ago when I was working on my creek, and this giant dump truck delivered a huge load of boulders, big rocks, like the size of little cars. And all the video is it dumping it out. And there's something, of course, satisfying about that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this has nothing to do with music, but I'm going to post it almost as an experiment. It's analog, but it's all, you know. And I woke up in the morning and Instagram gave me some notification that like this video has been shown essentially to lots more people. Like the algorithm has sent it out there because people are watching it beyond 3 seconds. Therefore, they deem it has deep
How does
value.
this tie into Sora and AI? And
Well-
what's the meta thing you said? Vibes?
Yeah, I mean, they have their own kind of thing going.
So let me a couple things. What is Vibes? Is that like on Facebook? You make an AI video?
I haven't used Vibes. I don't know. I'm assuming it's something similar, but there's going to be more of these. But it's just the idea that you can make any visual content you want, and that we move to a place, as we knew was coming, where you really can't know anything that you see if it's real or not.
Imagine how you'd feel if your career was making CGI. Would you feel like you're done?
Dude, just making movies or making podcasts or whatever it is will all be able to be made probably pretty darn well by AI content. I mean,
What's the purpose of it all?
the purpose is making money for them, I suppose. They're racing towards wanting to have control. I mean, there's a belief in the AI industries, whether it's OpenAI or Google, Anthropic, like whoever's first in their mind to super intelligence or AGI, like then they're like, they win.
They win. Humanity.
They'll be one. They'll be like the ones controlling it all. So it's money, like trillions. They think.
So they're putting it out there in order to test it, in order to get better, in order to win.
Yeah, but what do you think about a world where there's no shared truth? And you could very much argue we're already in that, and we went from truthiness to alternative facts. If you remember these things from the old Trumpy phrases.
Yeah.
But it would truly do a place like, not only are we in different reality tunnels of what we perceive to be like my reality versus someone else's, seeing different Google results. I mean, that's one level of it. But you get into these reality tunnels where like you don't have a shared truth about what is even real anymore.
Well, we could maybe still agree on some things, like the sky is blue and the sun sets and the sun rises.
For now.
And we have seasons.
For now.
I guess I'm pointing all towards the natural worlds. Like those are, and then, like a fringer would be like, well, we already do control the weather or etc. to some degree, but things that are beyond our control, like seasons and the sun rising and setting and stars in the sky.
But it's psychologically deeply unstable. It's very destabilizing.
Well, if you're looking to your screen, the question is, how do I know what's real, what's coming through my screen?
Yes.
Or the airwaves? How can I trust what's coming through the airwaves? Can I even trust that this East Forest song is an East Forest song?
Are we real right now? Look, if someone's spending 7 or 8 hours a day online,
are we real right now?
I don't know. Are
Well,
you?
How real do you feel in this moment?
I'd say like 68%.
How are you measuring that?
I just went for it, like a gut response.
How real? Well, in this level of consciousness, we feel quite concrete.
Well, I think that's coming apart. Like I was saying, if you're spending 6 to 7 hours a day online, okay, so you're only awake however many hours, and how much of it you're spending sort of in this alternative world. And if we're seeing information, news, or like this I'm talking about with Sora, where, I mean, you don't even know if it's based in any reality anymore. And
Does it need to be? Has it ever been?
Yes, of course it was before. If you videoed something, there weren't really other feasible ways besides like animation before.
How would you put that up against, say, mythology and storytelling?
Because we have previously trusted things we see. That was a whole thing.
Sure, but what if this AI, whatever, is like a form of storytelling? It's not supposed to be real. It's supposed to be entertainment.
Sure, but what about when people use it for nefarious purposes to fool you? Like they're saying something is real when it wasn't, for instance.
Well, that's been happening already for a long time.
It's just a much better way of doing it. It's very convincing until we figure out.
My mind is thinking to like the Charlie Kirk shooting, right? And so that was like filmed. Mm-hmm. And many people, including us, we saw it. But even with that, there's theories around, well, we didn't see what we think we saw.
Perfect example. Some people think, they're like, no, I don't trust what I see. That wasn't real.
So it's more about the psychology, which I think you're asking about.
Yes.
How do I trust? How can I trust? And we've actually been conditioned more so to live in a state of distrust while our critical thinking skills are plummeting.
Yeah, so it's about, I'm also interested in like how you deal with that psychologically.
So you're looking for generally an outside source, like who's the expert that I can trust, that I can listen to, when they tell me something, I know they're telling me the truth. That gives us a lot of solace when we feel like we have that. But I think, again, to your point, even without AI, a lot of us are misled. Like the great liar of Trump, everything he says is not true most of the time. Most of it isn't true.
But that's what I think leads to this
and
tribalism.
A lot of it that he says is true, and it's just crazy the shit that he says that is actually true.
Well, the vast majority is not true. I mean, that's his whole shtick is.
But peppered in there, there's a percentage that's crazy true. That's insane.
Well, that's just like, someone who's gaslighting on acid or something. It's just
that's a good descriptor.
He's weirdly psychedelic for someone who's probably never done psychedelics.
But gaslighting's a good term to bring up too, because gaslighting is when something's true for me, let's say, and I say, this is my truth, and someone else says, that's not true. What you think and feel isn't true. What you experienced isn't true. And then that creates a level of internal confusion too, because, if you're chronically gaslit, you lose your sense of self-trust. And again, you're putting it out to somebody else to tell you, I'm always wrong. I never know. I can't tell. That happens globally and in relationships. And
well, you could say that's happening on like a grand scale, sort of like
completely.
The meta gaslighting of like what's even happening. I think that's kind of like what I'm trying to say. Like when shared truth is like what is actually happening, and we can't even agree on that, let alone getting into the solutions. I mean, this is a related story here about sort of a tech wellness paradox. So I said,
boy.
I guess this is saying the average person spends 6 hours and 40 minutes daily on screens. That's average. The documented impacts, of course, on sleep and mental health. There was we're using more screen-based apps and AI chatbots to manage anxiety and disconnection that screens created potentially in the first place.
That's weird.
Yeah, there's an NPR story that people are increasingly turning to ChatGPT and other AI applications to help with emotional challenges, though mental health professionals warn these tools aren't substitutes for actual therapy or human connection.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
How did it help or not help you when you used an AI therapist? What was that like?
When have I used an AI therapist?
Have you ever? I'm just asking. Have you ever used chat or AI in a way like that?
Not really. Not in a, maybe a question here and there, but that's different. But this is interesting beyond, I haven't really.
I have.
Well, no, I asked it about a friend once, like, what should I do in this conversation? And
how was that for you?
I guess it's validating. It told me the person was this crazy narcissist. And like, I don't remember. This was actually a year or two ago. So it was also basic AI.
Yeah.
But there was a really interesting story about the suicide, right? People who are getting into this self-referential loop where they've programmed into AI for it to agree with you in a sense. And so you start getting into these situations where it's truly a rabbit hole because you go deeper and deeper into self-delusion in a way.
Well, I think nothing's black or white. I think for some people, having a therapist type of personality, is that the right word, in AI may be helpful. It could be, and it could be really damaging. It could be both.
Yeah, there was, I'm trying to remember, there was some company or someone was saying how much money they were going to dump into this and how it's going to change the industry. And they were going to say, like, basically everyone goes to the AI therapist first. The good news is just democratizing therapy. Like almost everyone could have, in essence, a therapist. And they're trying to put in these safeguards where if you start talking about certain things and so forth, it shoots you to a human therapist. And I'm like, I got to be honest. I'm like, if you can crack the code on this, it could be good because, yes, there are dangers, but giving people access like that, that's kind of free. It's like at any time, for as long as you want, help you process. And let's just say it gets better and it has every psychological method.
Or a great scenario could be like how I'm thinking of like gamers, guys in their little groups on their video games. I'm sounding like a noob, which I am. But like imagine that for therapy where it's like you check in and it's like your group therapy peeps that are all over the world. And those are actual humans, but maybe there's an AI therapist, but you're really conversing with real people about their real issues.
Yeah, there could be groups, I suppose. I think the advantage here is that the idea is
But maybe you're an avatar at the same time.
There is this entity that in theory actually has skills and knowledge about how to deal with the thing you're saying. And that's the key piece.
And there's real humans that are in this too. That could be powerful or helpful, but not a substitute for human to human.
Not a substitute, but that's a thing. Like most people can't afford therapy. I know someone.
I'm just talking about friends. Human to human connection.
Yes. I was trying to think about the idea of if AI therapy would be useful or more of a danger.
No, it could be.
If you're spending that much time online, no doubt having more friends. But let's be honest, it's hard to have friends these days. Like everybody's busy and wrapped up in their things.
It takes effort. It takes real effort these days. It takes intentional watering of the garden with people. And it's like fast food.
How's it going for you making friends in at this young age of your life?
I feel like I've got so many great connections all across the world. Lovely people that we've met here and there. And, circles that we swim in and people that we are familiar with or more familiar with. And then here in Boise, some wonderful friendships too. But as a mom and as a partner, a lot of my relationship time is with you or with the kids.
Yes.
That's by choice because I value my time with you all so much. And I'm older. I'm an old fuddy-duddy.
How many friends do you think you have? I mean, I think we have a lot of like
acquaintances.
Not acquaintances. We're sure you have a lot of acquaintances, but people who are your friends, but you might not be like hanging with them a lot.
I probably have more than I give myself credit for. I remember having a journey once, and friends came up, and it was like friends that, aren't like inner circle friends, more like second or third tier, but just even them crossing through my consciousness in the journey, thinking like they would have my back. If I needed anything, these people, even this far out, would really have my back.
Most people would.
Yeah, most people would. And that felt really comforting.
Most people, it feels good to be useful. They want to help people.
Yeah.
We just have to ask them. We have to give them an excuse to do something. You want to talk about something political, or I had a question about ketamine clinics, given that that's something you do and that's been shifting around.
Let's do ketamine clinics, then politics.
Well, regulatory uncertainty in ketamine clinics, but there's also apparently been an uptick in state-level legislative action. So like Colorado passed a bill mandating stricter licensing requirements and reporting standings for ketamine clinics. And so other states are doing, so we've heard about stuff like this. So it sort of signals a shift from federal ambiguity to state-specific control, which could impact how they operate. But yet, the market apparently is strong. And the patient awareness is about these rapid effects in treatment-resistant depression help and other mood disorders is high. And so clinics can be very profitable. And this has led to a lot of growth in in-person and telehealth. Yet, it's a gray area. And many clinics are technically using IV ketamine off-label. So it's not explicitly FDA approved for mental health conditions, which
I would say
affect
all
insurance.
of it's off-label.
So there's not a clear situation going on. But I don't know. We've experienced.
What's your question here?
Getting there.
Okay. Sorry.
We've experienced in Idaho, at least, that it seems like it's slowed.
Yes, it has. It has. So I've been working with the Boise Ketamine Clinic here in town for the past 5 years, over 5 years. And the peak was about 23. And since then, come down a little bit. In 2025, it's been a lot slower, actually, at the Ketamine Clinic. And part of it is, I think, a lot of the clinics, well, maybe this won't make sense. I'm going to say half of the clinics in Boise have closed that were open 3 to 5 years ago. And with that, it's still slower. And I think part of it is the economy. People have less discretionary income. Most of the time it's out of pocket and it's not covered by insurance. And also I think ketamine kind of has a bad rap in some ways, even though the things you said about it helps with depression and anxiety and those things it does, but just like the collective psyche around it. Thank you, Elon Musk, or Matthew Perry's death, or South Park jokes and things like that. It's not as cool, sexy. It's kind of like a little slightly more cringy, cautious.
It got a brand hit.
Yeah, it got a brand hit.
Yeah.
And as far as the clinic side goes, I know just from talking with the owner of the ketamine clinic that she's had such an uptick in regulations from where it was 5 years ago, that so much more is tracked and really put through a microscope as far as federal regulation goes. I don't think there's state regulation, but federally, the DEA is watching it way, way more. And she told me that recently a provider who was abusing the prescriptions with patients, like not prescribing completely ethically, faced criminal charges, meaning he was put in jail versus a misdemeanor.
That's the DEA, right?
Yeah, and that's like an escalation of punishment.
No doubt. I mean, it's mixed messages too, because you also hear like with RFK, and I hear people who are in industries, particularly in cannabis, who are tangential, of course, to the psychedelic industries, that there's a lot of investment happening because they're anticipating a regulatory change where psychedelics supposedly are going to be open for more research and use.
I felt like that investment happened in ketamine space 5 years ago.
Yeah, there was a big psychedelic, huge investment space. I'm just saying, like, people are anticipating it. They're thinking, in a way, it's like hopeful. You know, it's this weird byproduct.
Like a deregulation even more?
Oh, yeah. But at the same time, as you're saying, it seems like the actions going on are actually getting stricter. And that's making some people tighten down or raise prices. Because when they do that, it's not making it cheaper and easier for people to come to your clinic. It makes it like, well, now you come in the clinic and you do it this way.
Yeah, it makes it harder on the professional side to run the clinic and way more expensive to run the clinic. And the owner of the clinic, too, what she's expressed is just even a lot more, I don't know the right word for this, but like blackouts in like Google searches. Like a lot of things that are under the banner of psychedelics are harder to come to the top or get hit now.
Have you seen or heard about all these, how many people are getting their accounts taken down on social media that talk about psychedelics?
I've seen it, and it kind of surprises me.
I've half a dozen at least have talked to me and said, like, our account is down, you know, and most of them, all of them, I think, have gotten it back. But people have stopped using the actual word psychedelic in their posts. They do that thing where you put a space in or a 3.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't. It's so odd to me. On one hand, things are opening up supposedly. On the other hand, you're not supposed to use the word psychedelic.
Or for a hot minute, we could.
Yeah, but what's so wrong? They're just talking. Some people are just talking about it.
Well, we were afraid of using the word psychedelic when we were creating Journey Space. We had all kinds of lawyers and long conversations about should we use the word psychedelic on our webpage. And we erred on the side of no. We didn't. That was 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
And then it seemed like not long after that, a year later, so 4 years ago, it was totally fine. My perception was no big deal. And now it's the other way. The pendulum is always swinging one way or the other.
Yes, it is indeed.
So do you think, let me ask, where do you think things are heading nationally with psychedelic deregulation?
Well, I don't know. I'm not a fan of RFK, but people keep saying this about RFK. You know, of course, he's a mixed bag, and that's what's sort of infuriating about the guy. But the things that are not good are really not good. But this idea of supporting psychedelic work and deregulation, of course, I'm for that because I think it's silly to be shutting it down.
Or to criminalize it.
Yeah, of course. But I only hear rumors, and they're inside rumors that we hear from pretty reputable people out there. But I hear a lot of people say, like, "Oh, it's coming, it's happening. Like this is going to happen soon."
Yeah, I felt like that was a year ago, pre-election. People who were RFKers, and they were trying to convince themselves of why it was okay for themselves to vote for Trump. It was like this delusional fantasy of like, well, if we vote for him and RFK gets in and he's going to bring in all these psychedelic things and it's finally going to open up. So
and Trump will take psychedelics.
It's going to be worth it
everything
to
we
vote
fixed.
for Trump. And I'm like, that's fucking insane bullshit. And you're an idiot for believing that. So it feels like to me, and I may be more pessimistic, a leftover tendril of somebody's self-delusion.
Sure. I've heard it recently, again, mostly from people in the cannabis industry. But it's hard to know, you know, if these things would actually happen. My gut tells me they are like on the list of to-dos. It's just
I don't
like
think so.
coming down the pike.
I don't think so. Because go back to the 70s, why there originally became a quote-unquote war on drugs. Why did that happen? Why were these, you know, Schedule I substances?
Because they were seen as counterculture and destabilizing to control.
What does that mean, counterculture?
They were seen as potentially dangerous to bringing down the systems of control.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why would they loosen the grip on bringing down the systems of control now when everything is going in quite the opposite direction?
Because they're using mostly the angle of the veterans and mental health, which is getting a lot of traction. And so it's going through the VA and, you know, it's having its, and I think that's great. But I mean, so I think there are some people who have pretty good intentions around why they want it to be more access.
That's totally true. That everything you said is totally true. But based on the reason of why there was a war on drugs in the first place, they don't want people, they meaning, what do I mean when I say they? Like,
well, also pharmaceutical companies, if you look at it the point of view, make a lot of money and they don't want to have something that's essentially free or very cheap and works better.
Or, grows out of the cow patty.
Yeah. So it's like, no thanks. We can't patent that in the same way and make billions and billions of dollars.
Sure. So it's going to stay controlled.
Well, maybe it will. I'm not sure it will, but interesting that the ketamine experience seems to be. We keep hearing this story about how strong the market is, and like I'm not hearing that. I kind of feel like
that's not my lived experience.
A downturn in the last year or two.
Yeah,
but would you still say it's effective as a therapeutic tool? Are you still seeing the same level of effectiveness person to person?
Totally. Of course. Like that's never changed. It's still highly effective. Used in a controlled way. There's also increased abuse.
Is there? Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know where people get it, to be honest, except from medicalized settings. You know, I guess
you just got to get your drug dealer, baby.
I guess people do. Yeah, who would want to put a white powder in their nose these days with fentanyl going around, whatever else is going on?
Trust me, people are still really enjoy their recreational ketamine. That hasn't gone away.
Well, like I said, I don't know where they get it. But,
well, you don't, but no, it's not that hard.
This is a story that relates to my old hometown, Portland, of course, the National Guard being sent there. And I want to talk about this being political theater or how you maintain your own peace, inner or outer, amidst this. Of course, this is going back and forth with a federal judge blocking it and the Trump administration deploying the National Guard to Portland and other places, a tense back and forth. Described the city as war-ravaged.
Well, that's been true for a long time.
I know. I'm sure
downtown
you
Portland
could go there and go to East Portland.
A little
and
intense for a
many
while.
coffee shops where people are just sitting there having their lattes, and it's not exactly war-ravaged.
It's not war-ravaged at all, but downtown Portland has been not the best place for a while, but that has nothing to do with needing the National Guard.
I mean, most big cities right now have areas of the downtown that are not so nice, but that's usually very concentrated spots. And the rest is quite fine.
Yeah.
And it's like, so it's ridiculous to say any major city right now is especially since COVID, like not Boise. It's just not a major city.
No.
So it doesn't have big city problems.
When do you think, excuse me, having lived in Portland for a long time, I know you're bad with time and dates, but when did it kind of start to lose its luster?
I think cities, of course, go through cycles, and that's totally natural.
Yes.
And I remember when I was growing up in Salem and we go into Portland, we only went to the west side because there was nothing else that was nice. And you think about movies like My Own Private Idaho, or when the crack was going around, it was gritty. It was grimy. It wasn't like a hipster capital. And then when I went away and moved away for college, and then when I eventually moved back, whatever that was 10 some years later, I happened to hit it at like when it was just blowing up and everyone was moving there. And it was the golden age of the city. Like all the restaurateurs went from Brooklyn to Portland. And so the food scene was popping, the music scene was popping. And right when I moved there, and I think it was like 2010, does that sound right?
When you got married?
Yeah, right before that.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it was before that. But the point is, it was well on its way to being quite established. Like I remember I moved on to Alberta Street, and people would tell me, you know, the building I was in used to be a biker bar that blew up. It literally blew up. And my landlord bought the land and built this like 5-apartment condo thing that I lived in. And I thought it was cheap. I was coming from New York, but it was.
What was it then?
Oh God, it was probably like $1,500 for a 2-bedroom loft with like brand new. It was really with views and stuff, and it was beautiful. Point is, I remember I would have friends who would work at a coffee shop maybe 3 or 4 days a week, and they lived in a house that they shared with 3 or 4 other people, big old house, and they all paid like $300 or $400 a piece. So it was cheap. And that summer, everything just got expensive. Like everyone's rent doubled or tripled.
What's that summer?
Like around when I moved there.
2010.
Yeah, ish. Yeah. And I just remember things started just getting pricey. And it no longer was the cheap thing. And then there started, as the years went on, so many people were moving there. You started to get a little traffic, you know, when you're trying to get across town. It wasn't designed for that. And so it shifted. And then COVID came.
Well, you left in 17?
I think so. But what I'm trying to say is that it wasn't just Portland that went downhill at that time. When we were on tour, for instance, back in 2022, every major city we went to, downtown, was kind of rough.
San Fran was one of the worst.
San Fran, Seattle, Portland, anywhere.
Seattle's
even Santa Cruz.
fine, in my opinion.
Sure, it was rough, a little rough.
Well,
LA.
so Trump calls in the National Guards.
Yeah, and
it's a blue city. All the cities are blue.
Yeah,
have we noticed that?
It's transparent, of course, what's going on. But I personally think it's political theater to the point where we need to not get distracted by the bigger, more important things going on. Certainly, some on the surface, some below the surface. But they're flooding the zone with shit, as Steve Bannon would say. Like that is their
So sending
methodology.
troops to Portland is a distraction from
I believe
other
so.
things.
I believe so. Yeah, it's a total smokescreen because they're also like I believe there's a legal right for the federal government to send federal troops to defend quote unquote a federal building. So it's like, look, it's not illegal to do that. It's ridiculous. It's pointless to like stand there, and it creates chaos. But I also think like it's not like it's you're looking at the map over the territory kind of deal.
I think it's both political theater I agree with you that it's a distraction technique. And I think it's also the testing of the waters. Like if we go back a year ago before Trump was elected, there was the hypothesis was put out there sometimes of like, well, imagine he might deploy the National Guard to cities. And people were like, no, he'll never do that. He's not going to. No, he might, but he will, but he won't. No, he won't. Yes, he will. And now how many times has he done it already in less than a year?
One, two. Well, if this is the third, right? And by the time this comes out, maybe
I think more than that. LA, Washington, Tennessee, Chicago, and Portland.
Yeah.
And Portland happened a couple times.
Don't get me wrong. It's not good. I really don't. And I think the dangers are in how it could escalate. But I still think at the level it's at now, it's just it's at the level of highly annoying, problematic, keep an eye on it kind of thing versus like we got to talk about it all the time because that's what they want. They want us to talk about it and be focused on it.
What do you think's not being talked about when we're talking about this?
Well, if we'd have to sit here and go through like what's worse, but certainly I believe the having masked agents with $150 billion or something in funding going around that are domestic federal police force is really bad.
ICE. So with the headlines
with a lot of money.
Aren't ICE has been deployed to blank city, right?
Well, they're everywhere, right?
Sure,
yeah.
But we're not. That's not the headline. It's just happening. While we're focused on the National Guard, ICE is going everywhere.
Well, let me take that another level. So we're focused on the stories that are horrible that we hear, and they're horrible, while they're building. The administration is building these mega prisons and camps all over the place to house, potentially millions of people.
That scare the shit out of you?
It's exactly what I'm saying. These are bigger stories we need to be focusing on. It's like, wow, instead we're like, there's a standoff in downtown Portland. I'm sure I know exactly where it is. It's like, yeah, that's where they always have. That's where the Occupy was. It's like, it's just, it's theater to me. So it's really challenging these days. It kind of goes back to your idea of gaslighting. It's kind of this strange gaslighting thing where when you have so much stuff you're doing that everyone's trying to put their fingers in the jam and they don't know what to focus on, you can't just ignore some of these things. Like you have to give it some attention, like the news, so to speak.
How are you? Am I interrupting your train of thought? Sorry. Okay, keep going.
It's okay. What do you want to say?
Just more about what's not being talked about. Like what comes to mind for me is Gaza.
Okay, yep. There's another one. So I think that, and this is all
but
100%.
I wanted to ask you, in relation to Gaza, what do you notice as your own level of saturation or what you can pay attention to or how deep you dig or, you know what I'm asking?
I think so. It's a deep layered question because I don't believe that social media is a valuable forum for discussing these things. And furthermore, I don't scroll feeds on social media, so I'm not seeing it. Maybe I see a little bit tangentially on social media, but I also don't think it's talk about no shared truth.
But you go to news feeds.
Correct.
So?
Yep. I'm just trying to give you a landscape of like to answer your question about how I feel about it or consume it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And like how numb are you?
Right. I think it's impossible not to be a little numb to a lot of these things, whether it's Gaza or climate change or whatever, because there's so much and it's so deep that the deeper you look, the harder it hurts. And you feel so ineffectual to do much about it in a very like physical way. And so most people go to some performative making posts or shouting about it in a way. And like, I understand that. I actually
it's
think
not all performative though.
Okay. What do you think?
It's not letting it disappear from the collective psyche also. So it's important to continue to speak about it because if we leave it up to mainstream news sources, they wouldn't talk about it at all. So it's a little bit of a form of activism.
I would agree that it's little, but I would disagree that certain mainstream outlets are not talking about it. I think the New York Times is doing a pretty good job talking about it. They haven't been letting it go. And they've been doing some of the best reporting I've seen. And that, granted, I'm not seeing some of this other, like maybe gonzo journalism stuff that could be really good, like old school, like old school Vice, just a person doing it. That's probably powerful. But I don't know. That's part of the problem with not having a shared truth, is that it's hard to know the veracity of what you're seeing too. And it's so easy because a lot of stuff that is coming out is intentionally meant to divide us, and people are making up stories that we take at face value that really, how do you know, right? If it's true or not. And a lot of it is meant to do exactly what it's doing, is get you to shout and scream, and you start to create this tribalistic us versus them and division.
On another level, it's the trauma porn nervous system hijacking.
Yes.
So it's not even shout and scream externally. It's what it's doing to your being internally.
You know what's so fucked up is that on one hand, let's say you have a bot farm, whether it's in China or Ecuador or Russia, who's...
Why you gotta throw Ecuador with those two?
Yeah, why did I? I don't know. I imagine places where they could have bot farms. Okay. I didn't just... Let's just say Russia. We know there's bot farms in Russia. India. Wherever people want... That's not my point. The point is, it's crazy that we can use these systems to create division by making lots of crazy content. And then the companies that run it, that profit off it, are like, absolutely spend the money, be on the platforms. And the more we make the algorithms so that it feeds that division, the better this whole thing works. And it's just, I mean, total snake eating its own tail.
Yes. Yes. I've observed my own being respond to traumatic news stories or posts in a way that captures my attention.
Absolutely. And me too. So to answer your question, I struggle with it. I imagine most people do.
The flip side of that is the saturation, where you're numb, right? It's either you're captured by it or you're numb to it.
Yeah, or you ignore it. Yeah.
Or you ignore
Stick
it.
your head in the sand
That's
kind of
the
thing.
numb. Mm-hmm.
I don't do that by any means. I just struggle with like how to process stuff is happening in real time, especially when it gets to like people being hungry or just having nowhere to go and being trapped, and just seeing what seems like just wanting to exterminate something or cruelty for the sake of cruelty.
Genocide.
Yeah, I mean, by its definition.
The lynchings that happened in Missouri right after Charlie Kirk's death.
Yeah, we're jumping around, but yeah, terrible. We could sit here and list all the most terrible things we can think of, but I would just say that like a lot of what's feeding it, even like the flooding the zone with shit idea is a kind of cruelty for the sake of cruelty, for the sake of attention. And in that way, when you're going back to like Sora and what we see, and it's one thing to have an article and the pictures, and we've already accepted like, I mean, who knows if it's true? Maybe, could be, could not. Now the video too, it's like, who knows? Could be, could not. That's kind of gone.
Can you really
That's
know?
gone. It's gone. So what's next is my point of like, what are you left with in a few weeks, months, years even, when you don't have you're on, look, what did I say? 6 hours, 40 minutes, the average person online, to think that everything you see there might not even be true. Which you could argue now, but it's like truly there.
It's not maybe even true, but a lot of the horrific things are true. But the equation equals fear, living in fear. That's the underlying factor. And when people live in fear, they become more selfish. They become more closed in and thinking of themselves first. When you're in a state of calm or peace or openness or hope, you're more generous, you're more unifying. And so what is happening too is by ingesting all of this, It's like the self-protection mechanism. I've got to protect myself. Turns on.
So tell me more. You mean by consuming it, you're inadvertently thinking you're protecting yourself?
When you're living in a state of fear, consuming it all creates a state of fear. Whether that's fear based on what is actually happening, that is true, or fear about what might be happening, or being told things that you think are true but aren't true, but they're generating, the underlying sensation is fear. I'm afraid. And sometimes you're just afraid because you don't know.
Right. It's almost like I think the motivating force for a lot of us is that we have this background fear you're talking about and the things we don't know. And you think you are informing yourself by consuming the information, so to speak.
Right.
And most of it is not only
It's
it's
designed
dump
to
trucks
amplify
dumping
your fear.
rocks.
Yeah.
You know what I
Here,
mean?
let's put
Or it's
more
not,
fear
or it's not even
boulders.
fear. It's just like it's nothing. It's just like
Garbage.
dopamine candy.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of it. That's a lot of what TikTok, I would assume, is just purely just I'm surfing the dope.
I mean, I think of like when I was saying it makes you more selfish, like a good example of that are like the folks that have totally fallen into the MAGA cult. Right? And it's like, I need my guns. I need to protect my people, myself, othering. Those are the bad people. I don't care what happens to them because they're bad. That is somebody who's actually living in a high state of fear. And they probably often don't know anything other than that.
Well, it's I think what I was trying to say with the tribalism, that it pushes us into camps of pointing the finger, us versus them.
If you're afraid, you can be in a camp that's open-minded though too. You could be in a camp that can see more globally and holistically if you're not hijacked.
I agree. You know, you look at the great teachings, Maharaji, Sub Ek, we're all one. The psychedelics tend to give us a felt experience of oneness. And all these other mechanisms are pushing us away from that into the other polarity of you are a one thing, and then there's infinite other billions of other things, and you need to protect yourself, watch out for your own, that kind of mentality. And that's why I believe more in things that bring us into the presence, into ourselves, like music itself. Anything that brings us together. You have to think about what the antidote for these forces are. And one of them is we can't feed the beast. And that means you have to curate your own attention. I don't think there's another way around it.
You have to put in self-limiters. You have to be conscious about your consciousness.
And even for those of us who know that, it's hard to do or it's not really done. I just think we're being hacked at a level that it's crazy to think how effective it is.
I just want to give a level of grace also, because nobody's going to be perfect at it probably, unless you live a pretty extreme life. So there's a way to be balanced within it all. And how you do that is observing how something makes you feel, just like you would begin to do when you're trying to like learn more about your diet and your body. It's like, oh, I ate a block of cheese and now I'm backed up.
Let me tell you something. It's been a lot of years since I ate a block of cheese, and I miss it. Those Tillamook blocks of
Why'd
cheese
you
from
stop?
Oregon. Well, I went to a doctor, and they said, you shouldn't be eating dairy. You're apparently quite allergic to dairy. I was like, what do you mean? I eat it every day.
But what'd you have? Inflammation, digestive issues?
It was probably all of it, but definitely inflammation going on. And so I don't eat blocks of cheese.
So
I miss it. I do miss it.
It's the same with your psyche. And so it's like, I'm not going to binge watch some shit show, because when I do, on the other side of it, I feel more blah, or I feel more angry or sensitive, or I project more or whatever. What brings you a level of peace?
So let's wrap it up. Maybe you could tell us last week or so, any grist for the mill, anything sort of personal for you that you could be a triumph, could be a challenge I feel like grist is not always negative by any means. Anything come to mind to you that is gristy in nature? I'll go first while you're thinking.
Okay.
I am, was preparing for tour, and I think a lot about ticket sales, of course, because you want to sell tickets, and you talk about trying to grab people's attention, and inside this maelstrom of content. And if anything, the grist there for me has been a lot about noticing that and the anxiety and fear that happens, and then also the trust and the letting go of, look, it is up to God. Like, there's things I need to do, but all of it is just going to unfold how it's going to unfold. And in that way, what's the point of being really freaked out about it? It's like, whatever it is that happens, even if it's not what I think I want, it's got to be. I know this sounds super new age garbage right now. That's what it sounds like. It's meant to be, but I really feel like it is what it is.
Trust.
So the grist is that I say things like it's new age garbage, but then I really do believe like...
Yeah, why did you just do that? Why did you just say it's new age garbage?
Because it's a friction for me. It's a friction.
Because if it's a platitude, is that it?
I don't know. Yeah.
But like...
Coming out of my mouth.
I know, but like we know from our own psychedelic journeys, right? When we're deep in source and you hit a platitude and it's like the most true thing ever. Like Shane Moss has got that great line in his comedy skit. Home is where the heart is. Home is where the heart is.
Yes. They are very true. That's why they are what they are.
So you don't have to put it down.
Well, I think if there's the grist is that I am still holding the truth. It just keeps coming up my humanity over and over again, where I have to remind myself.
Your humanity wants to control it.
Yeah.
Your humanity wants good numbers.
What's yours?
Oh. It's the tension that we have just talked about of screen time. What do we give our consciousness to? What if the whole hack is just about getting us to be on our phones, regardless of what the pull into the phone is?
What's pulled you in this week? Or what's the thing that's kind of bringing this up?
I wouldn't say that there's any one particular thing, but I'm someone who, for example, I had a television when I was a kid. Growing up in the 80s, but from the age of 12.
Ooh la la.
From the age of, I had a TV.
You say it like, nobody else did.
What? I haven't gotten to my point.
It's very funny.
From the age of 12, I didn't have a TV. So that's where I was going. So I wasn't going to try to say I didn't grow up with a television at all. I did, very formative years. I love my WWF. And all the cartoons and all the things. But from 12 on, I didn't. And so I've, since that age, been protective of my consciousness in regards to screens. And even, I remember when the iPhone came out with my ex-husband, he wanted one. I was like, I don't want you to get an iPhone. I don't want you to have that. I told him no for a long time, like a year.
What, you decided for him?
I was just resistant. I was outspoken. I was just like, I don't want you to have that because I know you'll always be looking at it, is what I said to him. I know. You
know what this reminds me of?
What?
When for my birthday or Christmas, you got me. Can I say this?
No.
I can't. Now they want to know. I have to say this. Well, you're laughing about it.
Okay. I'm going to keep going then. If you say it, I'm going to keep going too.
I don't want to play this escalatory game.
What he wants to say is for Christmas a few years back, I got him a subscription to HBO because I wanted to watch Game of Thrones with him, which I had already watched and read the books and he hadn't seen yet, but he had introduced me to The Office and Curb, which I loved. So I was like, I'm going to return the favor. Let me introduce you to Game of Thrones. But I'm not going to give you the password access to HBO because you're going to be on it all the time.
So let me sum that up for you. She gave me a gift of an HBO Max subscription, but wouldn't give me the password. That's pretty much it right there.
I didn't want you on it all the time.
Anyway.
So I haven't changed it all.
So your husband wasn't allowed to get an iPhone, is my point.
He eventually did, and we all did. I did, etc.
I never got the password.
And the thing happened. You have your own HBO Max now. Thank you very much.
I do not.
Yes, you do.
I don't.
Oh, no, we all use Maya's.
I don't have any password to any HBO Max.
I think we all use my daughter's subscription.
Well, the grist for the mill sounds like you're saying.
Yeah, can I keep going? Let's see. That I'm just... It's a paradox for me, and it's a fine line, and it's not black or white, and I find pleasure in scrolling at times, and I find pleasure in keeping up with my friends. Like one college friend I only talk with on Instagram, for example, and that's pleasurable to have those kinds of connections. And sometimes, every now and then, there's a good show or a good documentary. But the negative side of it for me is when I find myself, like, for example, going onto Substack, looking for quote unquote the latest,
the juice,
the latest something about the something, and I can find lots of that, and there's a certain response I notice within myself, but it's like, I guess the edge is like, but how else do I stay informed, quote unquote, politically?
Well,
without
information sickness,
without getting into the cesspool.
You gotta have that. So you gotta have the line, and only you can make the line because everything's pulling you over it. The greatest minds in the world are pulling us over that line. So that's a good place to end. I like this idea of a paradox. In essence, it's a perfect paradox, and we find ourselves that we're in all these ways, having to weave with technology. I do think it's going to get weirder and weirder as we continue racing towards peak content. And you think you can find whatever you want to see now? Well, just you wait. You'll have even more and more and more and more. But till next time.
Yeah, thanks for talking this out with me.
Yeah, good chatting. Everybody keep walking.
Lots of love to all you out there. We believe in you. We're in this together. I got your back.
Radha has your back. Hit her up. You got a lot to show. There's so much you know as you try on these